So this is an orchestrated communist assault on America to destroy America's borders, to create confusion in America, to overwhelm the system politically, because America is the main enemy. And if you can't bring it down through nuclear weapons, you bring it down through illegal immigration, which is maybe just as effective in the long run. You can see what 15, 16, 20, 25 million new Democratic voters is going to do to this country. You will lose Texas, you will lose Florida, you will lose Georgia, Arizona, North Carolina. There will never be, ever, another Republican or conservative president in our lifetimes. You will have a one-party state in America, and that is the plan. That is why they are doing this. And this is Marxist, this is Leninist, and this goes back to American politicians cooperating with hostile foreign powers in the destruction of America. And their number one weapon is illegal immigration and overwhelming the border. That's what they are doing. If that's not a national emergency, I cannot comprehend what is. What could be more pressing and more dangerous than this? The Democrats 25 years ago, they were the party leading the charge against illegal immigration. They were the party. You look up on C-SPAN and see speeches by Harry Reid and Bill Clinton condemning illegal immigration in the harshest terms. This is a national security threat. This is taking the jobs of American workers. This is destroying their livelihood. We must end this. They sounded like Tea Party guys. And now they're completely in favour of it because they've so destroyed their own base amongst the sort of Pennsylvania Union guys, the middle class in this country. They've so destroyed their own base, they have to import new voters. And where are they going to come from? Well, it's a very easy source for that. The borders would be dissolved effectively. There would be no effective border security. And all the Democrat candidates are united on this. All of them, not one of them has made a stand against what is happening on the border. They're all for amnesty. They're all for welcoming, illegals over the border. So you would see the end of America as we know it, because we would get so many million people coming over. They would be given citizenship and voting rights, and they would vote for the party that let them in. Ultimately, these guys, they want power. These Democrat leaders, they're going to live in gated communities. They're going to be living high off the fat of the land. All the rest of us will be living in poverty and destitution, but that's okay. Every communist dictator lives in prosperity. Every communist dictator has all the luxuries they want. They don't care what happens to us. We're just expendable to them. And so they have the same mentality. They want power at any cost. And they know illegal immigration is hurting American workers. They know it's taking jobs from young black kids in black communities. They know it's bringing disease and public health dangers. They know the open borders are killing 60,000 Americans a year through the importation of fentanyl from China and cocaine and heroin from South America. They know all that, but they're still willing to go along with it because power comes first. And this is the road to absolute power for them. MIT says there's 22 million illegals in the country now. And we will know on present patterns they will vote 80% Democrat at least. Well, that gives the Democrats 15 or 16 million votes just straight off the top. And when you consider that Mitt Romney lost his election by 2.5 million votes and Donald Trump won by 200,000 thanks to the Electoral College and actually lost the popular vote by 3 million. Make it clear, America was never a democracy. It was a constitutional republic where the will of the majority was tempered by things like the Electoral College to make sure big population centres did not dominate small population centres. So the left wants to get rid of that. They want to flood the system with illegals. They want to basically undermine the electoral system so that they rule forever. You know, and as Stalin famously said, it's not who votes that counts, it's who counts the votes that counts. So if they're in control of the voting process, they're in control of counting the votes and apportioning out electoral districts, they get rid of the national popular vote, no matter how unpopular they become, no matter how cruel they are, how corrupt they are, and how much the economy crashes, they can never be voted out of power. They will have a permanent blank check on power in this country. And even a die-hard Democrat should be terrified of that situation. You know, to give one party a monopoly on this country. I don't care if it's the best political party in the world. If you give them a complete monopoly on power for all time, that is a recipe for corruption and tyranny. Because all power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. I don't care if you had St. Peter leading the party. Wouldn't matter. You have a monopoly on power, you become corrupt. And everybody in this country should be terrified of that prospect. You've got a whole voting base who has no comprehension of the consequences of what they're doing. They still think they're voting for Harry Truman and JFK. They don't see that this is an either-or situation, that the Democrats are on the verge of an unbeatable permanent majority. This is a race against time. What's it going to be, 1 million this year? 1.5, 2 million next year? We saw 1 million Muslims driven into Germany recently with all of the social consequences that entailed. Well, the pool of potential refugees from Latin America is way bigger than the people who come out of Syria. Or how many people live below the border? You know, you're talking a couple of 100 million in Latin America. You could have 3, 4, 5 million people trying to get it. I think President Trump is hoping it'll slow down, but if it's not, I think he's going to have to be tough on Mexico. Until he can get control of the US House again, I don't see how he's going to stop this. But he has to. So if I was the president, what I would be doing, I would be saying to the president of Mexico, if you do not stop this flow, and the president of Mexico is a Marxist, AMLO, we will shut down trade. We will shut down everything. Because this is an act of war. It may come to the point where he just has to bite the bullet and say the border is sealed. But even that's not going to stop the problem entirely, because people will still claim refugee status under existing law. So I think the answer must be to put huge pressure on Mexico to stop the problem internally, because they could do it if they wanted to. And by not doing it, they're basically declaring war on the United States. And that needs some tough measures. This whole move for illegal immigration, amnesty, dissolving the border, goes right back to the Soviet days, you know, when the Communist Party USA was working on the border to bring people across, to train up the sort of amnesty movement people. I'm talking, you know, back in the 70s or even before that. And so, you know, with people like Bert Corona, the famous Communist Party member from California, who was heavily involved in this, and he had a whole network across the southern border states of Communist Party members and radicals who were fostering this movement. Because it was designed, there's two aspects of it. One was to fill the southern states with Mexicans and Latin Americans to eventually wrest the southern states back from Mexico, and also to increase the Democratic Party rolls. And so Corona was working with people like, I've got a letter from the 70s asking for Corona and Cesar Chavez and others in this network to find promising young Chicano activists to send to Moscow to train at Patrice Lumumba School, the big training school for foreign communists, to teach them about revolution through promoting Aztlan, the return of the southern states to Mexico. So this is old, and now it's being supported by Fronteras out of Chicago, which is run by the Lozano family, which is they're running a lot of this support networks for the people jumping the border, and they're a Communist Party family, pro-Soviet Communist Party family since a long time back. And then you've got Acorn working down in Honduras, and they worked on voter registration all over the States. But now they are, I believe, also driving the caravans up. I've been told stories about this, but nothing I can prove, that the Cubans are also involved in this, and the left-wing forces in Honduras as well.